It's lights out, everybody, and welcome back to the Low Downforce podcast, the four-friend Formula One podcast, and all four of us are here yet again. You have Josh, you have Matt, you have J9, and you have myself, Ben. There is no rest for the wicked. We are in the middle of a triple header. We are actually going to the last leg of the triple header, and that brings us to Barcelona for one final time, specifically for the Formula One Aramco Gran Premio de España. Of course, we got an announcement earlier this year that the race will be moving to Madrid at a new street track after this season. A lot of people not too thrilled. A lot of people, it's interesting. A lot of people were ragging on Barcelona until they threatened to get rid of Barcelona. And then people all of a sudden love Barcelona. But it is an interesting track. It is where testing used to happen. So it is a pretty balanced track. And on top of that, I know Matt might get into this in just a second, but we have a new technical directive. We were notified at the beginning of the season that starting with this upcoming race, there were stricter regulations around the front wings of the cars. So if anything is going to change in terms of who's the dominant team, who's the fastest in qualifying, who's the fastest in the race, we might get our first glimpses of it here in Spain. But it's the European summer. We're living, we're enjoying, we're exactly a third of the way into the 2025 season. So no time to take your foot off the gas. We are still going full throttle ahead, which of course brings us to probably our greatest segment on the podcast. That is, of course, Matt's Track Facts. We love it. So I'm going to turn the mic over to him.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. As you mentioned, we are headed to Barcelona, to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. If I can say anything in Spanish, I don't even know. But it's an interesting track. Go ahead and take a look at the layout online if you haven't seen it yet. 14 turns, 2 DRS zones. And I think it was 2023, because I'm looking at some notes from last year, that there were 65 overtakes. So there's a lot going on here. There's one DRS zone on the start-finish straight, and there's another between turns 9 and 10. Both of those DRS zones are going to facilitate overtaking opportunities. This is a high tire deg track with warm and old asphalt. It's always going to be a hot race, and it was 2018 that they last replaced the asphalt at this track, so it's not very new. As we mentioned, this is getting close to the end for Barcelona. It will be on the calendar next year, but it will not be the Spanish Grand Prix. It is, who knows what it'll be named, but that will be the last year that they're contracted for. And as mentioned by Ben, it was used for off-season practice, as it's very balanced. And, I'll get into balance in a second, but we've got a 4.657 kilometer track, 66 laps for 307.236 kilometers. Like I mentioned, turn 1 and turn 10 are significant overtaking spots. Turn 3 is a high-speed right-hander, which tests that car's balance. So that's what I was mentioning there. And the final sector was reverted to a layout that was changed in 2007. They went back to it. And it's pretty much 2 fast sweeping corners, lots of speed, lots of overtaking chances. And really, like I mentioned, it's just an overtaking track. The history behind the track. So the first Grand Prix here was 1991, but the Spanish Grand Prix dates back to 1951 at Pedralbes, which is also in Barcelona. Michael Schumacher had his first win here. Max Verstappen became the youngest F1 winner in 2016 here. But Schumacher and Hamilton each have 6 wins at this track to be the most successful. We do have 2 home drivers this year, as we had last year, Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso. And I can't remember exactly where Carlos is from.
I believe Carlos is from Madrid, which is why I think Carlos is the main ambassador for the Madrid race next year.
Yeah, for some reason, I think Fernando is as well. Either way, you guys can do your research there. There is a lap record set back in 2023 here by Max Verstappen with a 1:16.330. and there is a pretty low probability of a safety car. If we look at the last few years, it maybe is around 35 to 40% chance, with 3 of the last 7 races here having a safety car. But since 1993, there's about 28% chance. So not nearly as I would say likely as Monaco, but you're going to get all that overtaking that you also lacked in Monaco. And I'm really looking forward to this race. I hope you are too.
Yeah, I would say even last year's race was really exciting to watch because you had some really fast driving, some really close driving. So you had Lando Norris get pole with a time of 1 minute 11 seconds, all like beating Max by 0.02 seconds. So that was really, really close. But then when they started the race, George Russell, who had gotten third in qualifying, made a super fast, bold move, beat both of them. So it was like a really great race start, really intriguing, got all of our attention. Few laps later, Verstappen passed Russell, and he was leading the pack from there. But pit stops play a huge role, especially when you're going fast and overtaking. The tires are going to degrade quicker. So pit stops are going to be really intriguing here. We did see last year Norris went to do a pit stop later than Verstappen, so he had fresher tires when he was getting to the last part of finishing the race. But he wasn't quick enough. So Verstappen did win last year with Norris right behind him. You then had Lewis Hamilton actually surprisingly get a really good position at third, with Russell being at fourth. You had Leclerc and Carlos with Ferrari at 5 and 6. McLaren at that time with Oscar getting 7th. Perez coming in with Red Bull at 8, and then Alpine finished 9 and 10 with Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon last year. So last year you saw a good bit of mix in the top 10. We're definitely going to probably see that this year, especially with so many other drivers other than the top 4 we always talk about do really well in this past race in Monaco. You had Hadjar do really well, Liam Lawson getting top 10. You had Hamilton and Leclerc doing fairly well for Ferrari, which is kind of rare this season to see. Obviously McLaren's doing well. Red Bull, you'll see Max likely up at the top, and I would expect to see Yuki also in the top 10. So I'm really quite excited to see this race this week, get a lot of overtakes, and see what happens.
We did not mention it last episode when we were recapping Monaco. Josh hinted at it a little bit, I believe, but McLaren is running away with the Constructors' Championship, but second place is hotter than ever. We have Mercedes on 147 points. We have Red Bull on 143 points, and we have Ferrari on 142 points. So be looking for all of those teams going absolutely at it to try and take the 2 spot in the Constructors' Championship and run away with it. Both J9 and Matt also mentioned that high degradation at this track. That's why they are running the 3 slowest tires that they can this weekend. We've just come off of 2 races where they've run the 3 fastest. So now we jump all the way to the other end of the spectrum. So definitely a lot to watch for, even in our very own Predictors Championship, which Josh has our update for.
Yes, I am still dominant in the lead with 17 points. Matt, not too far behind with 14. And you got the Alpine and the Kick Sauber of the Predictors Championship, which is Ben and J9 with 9 and 10 points fighting it out at the bottom.
I'm surprised he really kind of saved me there, because he was making a point last episode. If you were curious, I'm the one in last place. I'm the one stinking, but hey, it happens. There's plenty of season to still come
compared
back.
To an Alpine.
Hey, I was compared to a Kick Sauber, so you know what? Be grateful for what you can, but maybe we can start changing our fortunes now, J9, because we are getting into our predictions for the Spanish Grand Prix. No sprint race, just a normal race weekend. So starting off chronologically, of course, we have pole position. We'll go to Matt first for who he thinks is starting the race in the leading position.
Well, Go back and listen to our Monaco review if you have not. I think McLaren is going to keep playing the flip-flop game until they figure out who the number one driver is, and I think Oscar's going to end up on pole here. Lando had it last time. Oscar will have it this time, but it's going to be a McLaren.
I like your flip-flop idea, but I'm going for Lando to go back-to-back. But they may flip-flop in the race. We'll see about that later.
I'm also going Lando.
I'm going Max Verstappen. He's very strong at this track. I'm also very curious. I'm hopefully not too worried, but with this new technical directive, we have to see. A lot of people think that McLaren is going to be the most affected by it. I'm doubtful. All of the teams have had a few months now to prepare for this, so my guess is every team will be bringing these kind of upgrades, but just in case McLaren does get hurt the most from it, I'm going Max Verstappen in front, at least on Saturday.
Dang, so you just admitted McLaren was cheating.
I didn't. I just said I haven't seen how much their car is
You
affected
said they
by
had
the
a
front
flexi
wing.
wing.
Hey,
You said they had a flexi wing.
I said no such thing. But maybe I have McLaren winning the race. We will have to see. But you don't have to wait long before we get there, though. P3, Josh, right back to you. Who do you have third place on Sunday?
I said in the last episode that I didn't think Ferrari's good fortunes in Monaco would continue, but I actually have Charles Leclerc in P3. I think hopefully we're just gonna get good magically and have back-to-back podiums for Charles Leclerc.
All right, P3. I'm actually going Piastri. I think he's been pretty solid, but I think you'll see a little bit later. I think Lando's been having a little bit more of a strong take over the past few weeks, and I think that he's going to have the upper hand. So I'm going Piastri at third.
I have Lando at third. I think there's no way he doesn't end up on the podium, but I've already mentioned why I think Oscar ends up in that P1 position. And even though Lando might be the king of bottling the pole position, he's, it's tough to get up to that P1 without that pole position.
I am going with Max Verstappen in third. So I had him doing the best on qualifying pace, but I think race pace is a different story. In second place, right in front of him, I have Lando Norris. So I do have Lando Norris getting ahead of Max, and I've certainly got one other driver, but we'll get there in a second.
I also have Lando.
I also have Lando. So J9, you and I both have him falling off of pole into that second spot.
It's true.
And I have Max. I just think his strategy, it's hard not to see him on the podium. It would be cool to see a Ferrari up there, but
yes, it would.
Not so sure.
But most cool is, of course, the top step. Josh, who are you crowning champ in Barcelona?
I mentioned the flip-flop earlier, and I have Oscar Piastri. I think the McLaren car, even with all the changes, I think is still probably going to be the fastest. And I think Norris is going to bottle it off pole, and his teammate will be right behind him to pick up the scraps.
I don't have him bottling pole, but I've also gone Oscar Piastri for the win.
Same here.
I've got Verstappen. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I think he has some revenge that he'd like to have for Monaco. I think he knows that was not his best race. He played a strategy that just didn't work out, but I think he has some revenge. I think he has so much success here, and I think he's really going to come hard. I would be shocked if he doesn't get on the podium, but I'm putting him in first. I think he's got the drive this week.
Now, on the complete opposite end of the point spectrum, we, of course, have our last points finisher. That is, of course, P10. I predicted him last time. It didn't pan out. How long can this Fernando Alonso curse go? I don't know, but I am backing him again, that at least in his home race, some of that bad luck will convert to good luck, and he will get his first point of the season.
I did the exact same thing. He was driving so well in Monaco before his car fell apart. Obviously, a very different track. Very different circumstances, but I'm picking him just because it's his home race.
I've got Gasly. Gut feeling. I don't know. Maybe Alpine needs to score some points here, or at least one.
That they do.
And my 10th place actually goes along with my hot take, so I'm kind of going to combine them. in last episode for a Monaco review, I talked about how Hadjar had a really good race, no doubt about it, really good drive, but I don't think that he is going to be Rookie of the Year. I think Kimi has the spot. And so my 10th place is Hadjar, and my hot take is that Kimi and Russell make it back to the top 7. I think that they are going to continue to push hard. I think Russell, out of literally anyone, has the most angst after the last race. Maybe not more than Fernando Alonso, but I think he has a lot. And I think Russell's really going to come out strong in this. He has some really good overtakes, and I think Kimi's going to follow right behind him. I think they're going to be very strong, and Hadjar is going to get 10th. Yes, Josh.
That's not hot at all, because if you want to go and hold on. If you want to go and look at the sports books, George Russell is minus 1,100 for top 6, and Kimi Antonelli is minus 105 for top 6. So they're both more likely than not to be top 6. So top 7 for both of them is not hot.
Well, to me, it's hot. They did really shitty last one, and Hadjar at 10th. But that's not part of the hot take, though. But technically, it's kind of wrapped up, but not officially wrapped up for point's sake. Fine, I'll just say top 6.
I can take the bait on that.
Okay.
I mean, we'll certainly see if Mercedes is affected by the technical
saying that Liam
directives.
Lawson's great. You're saying that Fernando Alonso is going to get back to the top and get some points. You said Kimi sucked. You also said Russell sucked this past race. I'm just saying, I'm taking it from one pod to the next.
Totally different race.
And taking what y'all just said and bottling it up into my hot take.
I'm cool with the top 6. I have also bundled my P10 and spicy hot take a little bit. I have Fernando scoring points. I also have Carlos Sainz scoring points because I've gone with both Spaniards are scoring in their home race. Alonso, as we mentioned, no points yet this year. If I'm not mistaken, I think he might have also been cursed a little bit last year as well. So definitely would like to see both of them scoring points for their teams this week.
I have also kind of wrapped mine in, but not with P10, but with P3. I have Charles Leclerc in P3. I think Ferrari is going to jump up to P2 in the Constructors. We've said they're only 5 points off, but I think between Max Verstappen, because let's be real, Yuki Tsunoda not bringing in all the points for them right now, and both Mercedes.
Can I say that's not hot enough? Them. I don't think that's hot enough.
How is that not hot enough?
If it wasn't for their double disqualification in China, they would already be in P2.
Maybe
I'm going to agree, but again. Josh supported me at the end, so I'll support Josh in this
How
one.
many points are they going to be ahead of P3?
Oh, okay. That's a good question right there. I need to do some math. Go to Ben's hot take, or go to Matt's hot take, and then I'll come back with some math.
Well, Ben, I would have loved to have gone with one of my ideas. It was not nearly as who knows what how you all see my hot take. One of my initial ideas was that Fernando Alonso doesn't complete 3 laps of his home race.
That's so rude. That's the most J9 hot take.
It might be
I've
rude, but honestly, I didn't even feel like it was that hot of a take. The dude, he has even said, "I am the unluckiest driver in the world," and I don't necessarily disagree with him. Now, in terms of a Williams scoring well, not only do I see Carlos Sainz finishing in the points, I see Alex Albon finishing, I thought, top 6, but let's just wrap it all up and say that there's 2 Williams in the top 9 drivers. Is that hot enough, or do I need to bump it? Because
I'm down
they
for
haven't been performing that great, and if they have, it's typically one of the drivers.
I'm trying to think.
If we're
this
going,
is one of those races, man. I think anything can happen in this race because of the amount of overtakes.
Based on Vegas, like we did for the other, both Albon and Sainz are more likely than not to make it in the top 10.
Hey, he's going top 9 though.
Yeah.
No,
but it's minus 250 and minus 3, so it's pretty. I don't know. It's
You
pretty.
and your
let's
funny
go.
numbers.
Let's go top 8.
I'm just
then,
using
but
statistics.
I
Top
do
8,
think
okay.
that under the new front wing regulations, I think I just have this gut feeling that Williams is actually going to benefit a lot from this, because I don't think that they had a very flexy front wing in the first place, and maybe there's a pro out there who would say, Matt, you have no idea what you're talking about. But hey,
I challenge them to comment.
I challenge anyone to comment and correct me, but I feel like for some reason they may thrive where other teams at the top may struggle to adapt.
Can I go Ferrari leads third by 3 points? Because right now the gap is 4 points between second and third. 5 points total.
So they have to be +8 on Red Bull and Mercedes this week.
I mean, not necessarily, but
Say yes, and we'll.
Yeah, I think that's valid.
He said 7.
okay. So they lead by 3. There it is.
At
Locked
least.
in.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. At least.
No, exactly 3.
That would be crazy.
That would be extra spicy.
Sorry for calling you Kick Sauber.
That's okay. I can be nice.
But you're not sorry for calling me Alpine?
I'm sorry for calling you Alpine.
I'm not.
Well, we are certainly ready for this race. Certainly, we've got a lot of competitive spirit, as do all of the teams. Of course, if you want to watch qualifying, that is 10 a.m. on Saturday, just like last week. And also, just like last week, the Grand Prix kicks off at 9 a.m. Of course, those are Eastern Standard Times where we are. And if you are also where we are, you can watch the race on ESPN, as you can all season long. Of course, be sure after this race, were we right? Were we wrong in our predictions? You'll just have to tune in to our Grand Prix review after this weekend to see how we did. But until then, stay speedy, everyone. Goodbye.